the thing. Hey everybody, hope you're doing great. Good to see you this evening. Um, yeah, this day has been a busy one. Mondays and Wednesdays are by far the most difficult days to do anything extra that I have planned to do. But here we are for another weekly roundup. Today's topic is emergency situations. And if you're new to these, you haven't seen any of these before, these are just for fun roundups that I do, English classes that are follow ups from our weekly classes, Bridge School Online, um, and English at the Ready. So, English at the Ready is our English club. This club has 120 people plus from 30 plus countries. It's generally we have it's around 36 as a total number, and our membership comes and goes. I joke and say it's like managing a gym membership. People come and go different times of the year. Often you have an influx early in the year. In January, my New Year's resolution is to um, learn English, practice my English, get better with English, become fluent in English. All of these great ideas. And then usually summertime gets really busy. Most of our students are adults, and summers for adults are just difficult. If we have kids, kids are home. You might want to go on vacation during the summer because the weather's nice during the summer. Maybe it's time to go to the beach. Maybe it's time to go to the mountains if you want the cooler weather. Um, it's interesting. We've just come to the end of our first year of operation. At English at the Ready, things have been great, things are stable, which is all you can ask for is stability. When you begin a startup, as long as things are stable, we're in a very good spot. Stable with a little increase, that's even better. And that's where we've been, stable with a little increase. And it looks like coming in the fall, we're going to be able to expand a little bit more what we do online. If you look at englishattheready.com or English at the Ready on Instagram, you'll see my colleague, boss, the one who pays me, Michael Anton. He has a lot of really good content. So check him out. English at the Ready on Instagram. Follow him there, and then follow what I'm doing here on Twitch or on YouTube as well. On YouTube, it's BSO underscore RiceJD. That's the YouTube channel. I'll show it at the end of this class, but let's go ahead and begin recording. I treat these like live video lessons. These will be posted later as a video on demand for club members and for students who watch on YouTube. And then here on Twitch, you'll see it's not a huge channel. It doesn't have to be. Would I be happy if it was? Sure, why not? But what's important is this for me makes me feel, because I know I'm live, makes me feel like I'm giving a regular class. Right? I know a few people will check in. I'll be talking to someone every once in a while. It feels different than sitting here in front of my camera and just recording on my own, alone, nobody on the other end. So here we go. Weekly roundup, emergency situations. We'll start with the word escape route. Escape route. Notice this word root is said just like the root of a tree, but it's different from a root of a tree. Some people will say route, escape route. I don't want to say it's improper to say it that way, but it's better if you say route and not route, because there is a verb to route. Let's say we have two militaries fighting. Think about back in the day when you had swords and shields. Twitch, right? It's a video game channel. Think about, what's one of those medieval games? Like a Kingslayer game or Dater Kings. What's another popular one? One that's on the tip of my tongue. Just cannot remember the name of that game. Anyway, anything with a sword and board. When one army is so overpowering that the other army runs away from them or gives up the fight, that's a rout. A rout is when the other team runs away, just like in soccer or football. When one team is performing so well, they're scoring so many points, the other team is demoralized. They don't have the energy or the heart to continue. This is a rout. So this word, escape route, would be best. This term generally refers to a planned path or series of paths designed to help individuals quickly exit a building or area in the event of an emergency, such as a fire, earthquake, or other hazards. The connotation here, the focus, is on escaping from danger or a threatening situation, often under urgent circumstances. So the connotation becomes important because when you master English and you master phrasal verbs and compound thoughts like this, escape, route, it's important to compare them to other words with similar meanings or the same meaning in some cases. Seeing you follow, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Good to see you here. I have some students who are architects, and on Monday, at the beginning of my week, they asked about egress, route. Hey, Yoni Cricks. I'll call you Yoni. It's easy. Hope you're doing great. And again, thank you for checking in and thank you for that follow. It's good to see you. They asked about the word egress route. That's the second word today. Egress route. Egress and escape have very similar meanings, but the connotation is going to be different. The meaning of egress route, it's a more technical term, and that's a key. A more technical term that refers to the path or means by which people can leave a building or enclosed space. It is a broader term that includes all exits and access points that people can use to leave an area. The connotation here, you can see this is a little bit longer. The connotation here, while also concerned with safety, egress route is often used in legal, architectural, and regulatory contexts. It focuses on compliance with building codes and standards, ensuring that a building has sufficient and accessible exit paths for all occupants. So I told my students all throughout this week that egress route, or the word egress, is a technical term. It's a more professional term than saying escape route, even though they're very similar ideas. You have escape routes, escape points, egress routes, egress points. An egress or escape point is the actual place that you leave through. Where the exit sign is, that door is the egress point. This makes sense? Egress route, escape route, egress point, escape point. And the connotation is just slightly different. They're very similar, but again, when mastering English, it's knowing why I would use one word over the other that shows that you really have a handle on the English language. One of our idioms tonight, play with fire. This is a good one. When you do something risky or dangerous that could lead to trouble, you play with fire, or you are playing with fire. For example, you're playing with fire if you don't wear a helmet while riding a bike. They were playing with fire by not following the evacuation orders during the hurricane. Play with fire. If you're listening here in chat, let me know of a situation where you feel like you've played with fire. When's the time you've done something a little bit dangerous and knew that most likely you'd be okay, but something bad could happen? We can use play with fire when buying stocks or playing in the stock market. If you buy a stock, you're taking a risk. If you buy a stock with a high risk, one that could make a lot of money very quickly, but also could devalue, cause you to lose a lot of money quickly, you're playing with fire. In a relationship, maybe you're dating someone. Oh, she's the coolest girl in school, or he's the hottest guy in school, whatever your preference is here. This person may have a lot of people who want to date them. And maybe they've had lots of boyfriends or girlfriends. They're a heartbreaker. And your friends are like, I don't know, dude. Watch out for that girl. She's a heartbreaker. You're playing with fire. Don't get too attached. Maybe it works out. Maybe you get married. Maybe you have kids and have a wonderful life. But your friends are probably going to be right. You're playing with fire. And I'll type this saying in the chat here. If you play with fire, this is great grandparent or parental advice. If you play with fire, you might get burned. If you play with fire, you might get burned. Someone asked me about the pronunciation of the word fire this week also. Fire, fire, fire. I'm not saying fire, 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 fire. If you're from the South, if you're from North Carolina, where I'm from, people might say the fur, the fur. Hear that? The fur, the fire, the fur, the fire. So dialect can play an important role in words like fire or fur or fire. Up in the north, they often say fire. It's a fire. All right, now this one, in the heat of the moment. This is another idiom, and it means when you act impulsively or without thinking clearly due to intense emotions or pressure. So you can be feeling really strong. Nowadays, young people often say they are in their feelings. Like, oh, she was in her feelings when she threw her shoe at her boyfriend. She was so angry. He was in her feelings when he broke up with her. He didn't mean to. It just was all in the heat of the moment. So this is when you act impulsively without thinking clearly due to intense emotions or pressure. There could be a situation maybe at work where you have to make a decision. Management is watching you. So maybe you don't really have time to think about this decision thoroughly. So you make this decision quickly. You act impulsively in the heat of the moment. I don't know why those show at the same time, but here are two more idioms that have the same meaning. Yeah. In the heat of the, exactly. In Spanish, en el calor del momento. Oh, perfecto. That's excellent. That's exactly it. And you'll notice this idiom shows up in different languages. Very human condition. It's very human for us to be in the heat of the moment, in our feelings, in el calor del momento. My Spanish is okay. I should practice my Spanish as much as I teach. You know? If I practice my Spanish, like anyone who's listening to this stream practices their English, I think it would come back very quickly. In the heat of passion, this has more to do with your emotions, not so much pressure. In the heat of passion, you have these passionate, strong emotions. Speaking of Spanish, when I lived in Argentina, I studied for a little while in Argentina, and then I lived in Buenos Aires for a little while also. Argentine people are very passionate people. Talk about football, soccer, talk about romance. People get really excited. They're often in the heat of passion. Now, the next idiom, in the throes of passion, this is one you should be careful with. It sounds the same, in the heat of the moment, in the heat of passion, in the throes of passion. In the throes of passion is private moment, something you might read in a romance novel. Wink, wink. Follow what I'm saying. In the throes of passion, not something you want to say, like, I'm fighting with my boss today. My boss and I were in the heat of passion. Okay, we're mad at each other. We're very angry. We're speaking emphatically. In the throes of passion, you don't want to say that about you and your boss, right? This is not a good situation. This might be a work conflict. All right, again, read into that. That's all I'll say on this Twitch channel. But we're probably mostly all adults, or at least close enough here that I can allude to what it means. You're following me. And the last idiom for this lesson, get out of hand. A little bit of spicy vocabulary. My students really liked this one this week. And it's a useful idiom. When things get out of hand, they become uncontrollable or they become chaotic. So you lose control, there's too much happening, you don't know what's going on, things are out of hand. Think about, go to Starbucks and watch them when they get very busy. You'll see that sometimes people will steam the milk and then pick up a cup and steam the chocolate by accident because their cups get mixed up. This is the chaos of things when they get out of hand. The fire spread rapidly and got out of hand before the firefighters arrived. When emotions run high, discussion can easily get out of hand. So when things get out of hand, they get out of control. When they're in hand, they're in control. You could say, "Hey, you have things in hand?" And someone might say, "Yeah, it's in hand. It's under control. It's okay." Or you might say, "Hey, are things out of hand?" "Yeah, things are out of hand. They're out of control. Can you help me get them back in hand?" So hand would be a metaphor in this case for control. Hand. All right. And then these little lessons I do on Twitch, these weekly roundups, I like to finish with the 2 questions or 3 questions. This week it's 2 that my students found the most interesting or had the most interesting answers to. Or sometimes I just think the most interesting. The first question, and feel free if you're listening to type your own response in the chat. I'll read it and we can talk about it. But again, if you don't want to chat, totally fine. I'm glad you're here, glad you're listening. Do you think it's important to teach children about how to contact emergency services from a young age? The answers to this surprised me. I thought I would just hear a lot of people say, yes, yes, we should teach children to call because if one of the parents or grandparents, or if the adult in the room is unable to call, then the child is the only one who could do it. So, again, that makes a lot of sense. But a few of my students said that they want to emphasize how important it is to not call these emergency numbers unless there's an emergency. Only call if there's an emergency. And this is what we did with our daughters. We let them know 911 in the US. In the US, 911 is our emergency number. It's our general emergency number for fire department, for paramedics, EMTs, and for police. You can call 911 and get any help we need. But we also taught the girls this number is only for emergency. If you call it when you don't need it, that ambulance or that fire truck or that police car will be one less that can respond to other problems that are real problems. If someone has a heart attack, you don't want the ambulance to come to your house because they think something's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong. You want that ambulance to go to the person who had the heart attack so they can go to the hospital. And this is how we teach our girls. And our girls are we're lucky, they're very conscientious. They think about other people. They think about the things they do, the effect that it has on others. The second question that my students found most interesting is, can you think of a time when something you did in the heat of the moment had unexpected consequences? I bet we can all think of something here. Again, if you're listening, let me know in chat what your situation was. My situation? I was on a flight from Canada back to the United States. I had just skied the day before, and my legs and my body, my entire body, was totally sore. That morning, I got up at 3 a.m. No, actually, Canada time. I got up at 2 a.m. to teach my Chinese students. I was teaching Chinese kids online at that time. I got up at 2 a.m. My flight was leaving at 6:30, so I taught, I believe it was 2 hours of classes, 4 classes. Then I went to the subway system, or the metro, as they call it in Vancouver. I went to the Vancouver metro when it opened, took a train to the airport, got in line, waited for my flight, sat down. Everything's normal. I'm exhausted. I was sitting beside a wonderful couple who were on their way to their honeymoon vacation, and it was a good start. Somewhere along the way, I stood up to let the couple go out to the restroom. I still, to this day, have no idea what actually happened. I stood up. I don't know if I stepped, if I bumped him, touched him. I have no clue. But this guy turns around. He looked at me. It's one of those looks like, you knew this guy wanted to fight. This guy had a problem. And I just said, hey, go back to your seat, please. Go back to your seat. I was too tired to deal with it. The guy grabs my wrist, holds my wrist, and I pull it away and say, no. And the rest just went on from there. This was a situation that completely got out of hand. And he ran to the back of the plane, to the front, and then came back past me and went to the galley. The galley is an area of the plane where the flight attendants prepare food and store other, like the medical kit and other things they need during flight service. The guy comes back with a flight attendant. I have no idea what he told her, but I was flying non-rev. My sister worked for the airline at time, so I was flying for roughly $50, cheaper flight, but there's a code of conduct, and in general, I followed the code of conduct, no problem. But this guy, I put my hands up, and I guess he told them I pushed him, or I was trying to fight him, or something. But the flight attendants came, listened to his story, didn't ask me what happened at all, walked him back to his, came back and had a long discussion with me. And I said, I don't understand, kind of loudly. I didn't yell, but I was louder than usual. Don't understand what happened. I don't know what he told you. I just stood up to let a couple go to the restroom. And anyway, you can see where this is going. It went to just a lot of confusion, and the situation escalated out of hand. I didn't yell anymore after talking to the flight attendant. I said, okay. And the guy came back to me and he said, punk. I'm 30. At the time, I was 34 years old. I'm like, I'm 34 years old. What are you talking about? Go back to your seat. And he stood up, started puffing again. And the flight attendant came back, walked him back and said, you sit down. And I went, I am sitting. I don't understand. When I got off the plane, or as I was getting off the plane, they called me to talk to the pilots. I sat and talked to the pilots for 10, 15, 20 minutes. And they explained to me that sometimes flying is hard and sitting near the restroom can be very stressful. And I said, I don't understand what's happening at all. But I did tell them, your conflict resolution strategy is terrible. You need some conflict resolution training, because that's what I did at the time. I taught English in the mornings, but I was also teaching and working in conflict. And they didn't ask me. Nobody said, hey, excuse me, sir, what happened? This situation got out of hand. I yelled at the guy for maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds. And this whole situation spiraled a little bit out of control. And this is what happened when I reacted in the heat of the moment. So again, I'm thinking about it now, and I don't know what happened on that flight, but something happened on the flight. All right, you all. Been good to see you. Thank you guys for checking in. We've seen some names. I've got that new follow. And again, Yoni, I appreciate you. I hope we see you next time. I try to do these once a week. Over to my talk box here. I try to do these once a week. I'll upload it to YouTube if you want to watch it again or catch some you missed. Those are all there. English at the Ready. If you're looking for longer term English classes, if you're looking to catch up and practice once a week in a group class, have access to all of our other training material, English at the Ready. Again, Michael Anton, englishattheready.com, English at the Ready on Instagram. You can also find more there. For me, myself, and I, Bryce JD, Bridge Gaming on Instagram, or go to the YouTube. I don't do as much on Instagram right now. I use Xiaohongshu for my Chinese audience. And my US audience and my international audience, we filter them through English at the Ready's Instagram page. But YouTube is at BSO_RiceJD. Then me, Jacob. Teacher Jacob. Just call me Jacob. It's good to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to go hit the sack. I'm exhausted. It's been a long Monday. I hope you guys have a really wonderful week. And the ones of you who watch this, who I'll see in class later, I look forward to seeing you. You guys who aren't in my classes, meeting for the first time here, hope to see you again with the next Roundup. And do check us out on YouTube and watch some of the previous Roundups. Take care. Have a good week. I'll see you soon.